The debate over the practice of mountaintop removal has divided West Virginia. The human and environmental toll resulting from this type of mining is immense and is borne by the people of Appalachia. This is Larry Gibson. Though he hasn't always styled himself an activist, he has become a central figure in the fight to stop mountaintop removal. In the process of mining by mountaintop removal, explosives and huge machines called drag lines are used to remove the top of a mountain, exposing the coal underneath. The resulting debris is dumped in adjacent streams and valleys, leveling Appalachia and burying thousands of miles of streams. This method is considered the most efficient. It only takes about 80 people to level a mountain, and the process produces 10% of America's coal. Massey Energy is the biggest, most aggressive coal company in West Virginia and controls much of the mining in Appalachia.
What do you have so close to your own circle of life? If you don't have a price on it, what would you do to protect it? And what would you, how far would you go to stand for it? What would you do to protect it? And how far would you do to stand for
it? Coal produces over 50% of electricity in the United States. As our demand for power has rapidly expanded, so too has the practice of mountaintop removal, as shown in these satellite photos of the Appalachian Mountains. Larry Gibson lives on 57 acres of land surrounded by nearly 2,000 acres of coal company property. His land is on what used to be the lowest peak of Cayford Mountain. Because of mountaintop removal, it is now the highest. Larry's land has been valued at over $650 million because of the coal beneath it. Though he is under immense pressure to sell, Larry steadfastly refuses to do so. He has instead opened his land to visitors so that students, reporters, and activists can see the damage to the land caused by mountaintop removal. What borders Larry's property is considered a reclaimed site. Essentially, debris from excavation are piled up where mountains once stood. Chemicals are sprayed on the debris to facilitate the growth of grass. Shown is the mostly finished product. This is as close to mountains as will ever occupy this site. No wildlife has returned, and trees will never grow here again.
I make reference even to the miners, who are my people. And this young lady told you, and you will show them when you go back, the film on what happened here on July the 4th of 2009. I also make reference to the miners and the people who drive-by shootings here. And needless to say, I don't have any drive-by shootings no more because I shoot back. And when I'm here, people come for me, I'm simply going to stay alive. As long as I can.
Larry and his family have faced violence as a result of his fight to save Cayford Mountain. Shown are a group of miners who came to crash Larry's 4th of July party. One of the miners was recorded threatening to slit the throats of a woman and her 2-year-old child at the party. After Larry's fruitless attempts to seek prosecution, the man got off with a $100 fine. As with many areas rich with natural resources, the West Virginian economy lacks diversity. This has produced some of the country's highest levels of poverty. Many in West Virginia face a choice of working as either a miner or a fast food employee, so miners have come to view environmental activists as a threat to their livelihood. Ironically, mountaintop removal ends up being just as harmful for the workers, as this method requires far fewer, more skilled workers compared to traditional methods.
And we begin tonight with a story of power and money and what to a lot of people looks like an exchange of one for the other. It involves the CEO of a massive energy company and some very high-ranking elected officials with many, many millions of dollars at stake.
It is a real-life example of how private interests seem to pressure our justice system and leave people wondering if the courts are fair and impartial. In this case, we're talking about one of the country's 50 state Supreme Courts. Massey Energy is the country's fourth biggest coal company and a force to be reckoned with in West Virginia.
Mr. Blankenship.
As we discovered when we first met up with the company chairman and CEO, Don Blankenship.
I'll start taking a picture of you, liable to get shot. That's right.
No, how you doing, Mr. Blankenship? ABC News. Hey, sir. Don't my camera. Let go of me. Let go of me, sir. Let go of me. Let go of me. I'll get off the property.
There's a lot of money at stake here.
It is one of the Supreme Court's own justices, Larry Starcher, who has raised many of the questions about what he calls Blankenship's efforts to buy the court by spending millions of dollars.
Don Blankenship's only interest in the Supreme Court is having the court to rule favorably his way. He has no interest in seeing that we have a high-quality justice system.
His comment back to me was, well, you know, you don't want to take this to court because we'll tie you up for years.
As the appeal was pending, Blankenship then helped to raise $3.5 million for an advertising campaign. Led to the defeat of a justice perceived to be against Massey Energy.
They had a sign with a target on his back, said they were going to take him out.
The candidate favored by Blankenship, Brent Benjamin, was the first Republican elected to the Supreme Court of West Virginia in decades.
I said he bought a seat on the Supreme Court, and I think that today he made an expenditure of money that resulted in having a favorable seat on the Supreme Court.
Bought himself a seat on this court.
That's a term I've used before, so stand by it. And that bothered me, and it still bothers me. And unfortunately, Justice Benjamin sees nothing wrong with it. He sees that there's no reason for him to step aside in Massey cases, despite multiple motions for him to recuse himself. If that's not the appearance of impropriety, then I don't know what is.
If Larry surrenders his fight, he'll lose his ancestral home, including what remains of his family cemetery. In the process of clearing blasting debris, Massey took a bulldozer through the graveyard, pushing headstones off a cliff along with the rubble. The white crosses mark each lost grave, some of which dated back to the 1800s. With Massey's influence over the EPA, the Supreme Court, and the state economy, Larry has no one to appeal to in West Virginia to stop these atrocities. He has to seek outside help to effect change in his own home state. It is not an accident that the true cost of coal is hidden from consumers. Coal companies rely on the ignorance of consumers to sustain these practices and make a profit. The practice of mountaintop removal should not be allowed to continue. The government is not protecting its people from coal. Indeed, it is subsidizing the industry. Baltimore Gas and Electric uses coal directly from Kayford Mountain to fire many of the plants that provide power to Maryland's homes. It is up to us as consumers to demand clean energy and to demand more action from our legislature. The issues surrounding coal affect all of us. Without collective action, our means of power production will always be a matter of moving mountains.
Cast them to the sea, but I don't know the first thing about love. I don't know the first thing stands alone, still holds sway. All other things should fade away into the ground, into the grave. I give my body up unto the flames, and never once have I denied your name. But I don't know the first thing about love. I